All you gotta do is hush, you ain't gotta say much when you make that right connection. If you wanna double up, keep the money in the tuck, I can put you in the right direction. I can never get enough, all I got is us, I speak the true confession. Everything goes smooth cause I stay on the move and make them right connections. All you gotta do is hush, you ain't gotta say much when you make them right connections. If you wanna double up, keep the money in the tuck, I can put you in the right direction. I can never get enough, all I got is us, I speak the true confession. Everything goes smooth cause I stay on the move and make them right connections. All you gotta do is hush, you ain't gotta say much when you make them right connections. You already know what it is. It's your boy Big Wall, and y'all already know when I got Cari with me, we here to make this culture connect. What's going on with you, Cari?
What's going on in the kitchen? Well, here's the update.
Okay.
I had of course we didn't do our show last week, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was getting over a dental emergency.
Yes.
And I was like, I think I can talk, but I was like, it hurts a little bit to smile, but I'm good.
It's good. It's good though.
Eat food now.
You looking better, you feeling better, you know what I mean? Like it was sad. Like you tried. Shouts out to you for trying, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out to MJ too for spinning the block. And y'all already know we're gonna have MJ back real soon to tell us everything that's going on in the industry. She gonna be our regular spotlight guest on this show. So we're gonna tap in with MJ real soon. But everybody tried, and I appreciate you for trying, but it looked like it physically hurt when you talk, you know, like physically. You know what I mean?
Bruising? Was it the swelling? Was it the
a little bit? It was a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying?
I did my show on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I tell you, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was the penicillin or just whatever it was. Just like I've been so exhausted lately. Mind you, I've been working my butt off too. So, but I just like put in hours and hours and hours of cleaning last week, and I was so exhausted. So luckily, you know, my guest, he was in the Netherlands, and he was up at 3 a.m. to do the show with me, and I was like, wow. You know, you can pull through, I can pull through. An hour, I'm like, there's no excuses whether my mouth is sore or not. So anyway, now I've had a couple more days to recuperate. Life is back to normal.
Yeah.
It's, like I said, a little sore, but it's not like excruciating pain. So
I'm glad to see, man. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to the effort, you know what I mean? And we're gonna keep it going, man. And like today, we got an amazing guest, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna come through and give us her experiences. She wrote an amazing book, you know what I mean? And we're gonna talk about it, right, Cari?
That's right. But first, Big Wall, you never tell me what's going on your end of the world. It's always like
you gotta ask. I'm a gentleman. You gotta ask. You know what I mean? I'm glad you asked. You know what I'm saying? It's so much going on in the world of me. Like I just closed on my first property. You know what I mean? Shouts out. We doing big things in 2022. You know what I'm talking about? We leveling up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on my real estate journey. You know what I mean? Shouts out to all of the shows, all the creative content creators on the platform, on the Dress the Culture Network is doing amazing. You know what I mean? We got the collaboration show with Corrupt and Ice Mike doing great numbers. Shouts out to the radio platform, Indie 101, Jams 95.3, and Jams FM 95.3. I'm on 3 stations now. We syndicated, doing amazing. You know what I mean? And we just working, man. It's so much, man. I'm blessed. And like we right here, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Just FM. Our last, the show before last was at 400,000 views. You know what I mean? It's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So we just continuing to work, man. We got some other things coming on. I got an artist, you know, London Paris. We finna drop her project real soon. She in the studio working. You know what I mean? We got a lot going on, man. You know the vibes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love just like keeping busy.
Yeah,
working. And then eventually, like when someone asks you, okay, what have you been up to? Then you realize everything that you've been up to, and you're like, holy, like it's a lot. So that's good. It's good to see, like, because I know we've been extremely busy the past few months, like just getting all the shows together, and like you're running around doing this and I'm running around doing this and whatever. And finally it's just like come to like, this plateau of like, okay, we can just like be here.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling. Shouts out to the coaching gang in the building. Yeah, just closed on the house, the keys. You know what I'm talking about? That's the type of time we on. You feel me? Yeah. Shouts out to the coaching gang, man.
We need to bring our guest in because
yes.
in the green room, which apparently only has water, as we said.
We're working on our budget. Shouts out to Jesse. We're working on our budget. You know what I'm saying?
Our budget. We'll talk to Jesse after about this.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Jesse after, you know what I'm saying? It's time to renegotiate our contracts.
We need like little mini fridges with like a little alcohol in there. And I think that would be fun.
Yeah, a little bit. But you just put up the book, you know what I mean? And yes, you did. And that's the look, yeah, put it up so the world can see. You know what I'm saying? So they can go tap in. Because that's who we got. We got Adrienne Cox on the show. You know what I mean? Where she is an amazing author. She do so much for the coaching. We had to spin a block and bring her on. You know what I'm saying? Right, Cari?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her face to face. Just I was going to say this week. Last week, it's been a week already, and she got to see me in my pain and all my glory. It was fine. It was good, but it was nice to actually meet her face to face and then kind of go over the book, just like really skimmily through whatever, so that we kind of knew a little bit what we wanted to talk about today and touch on. So, but we'll bring her on, and then she can kind of go into all the details about her book, because it's an amazing journey that she's been on with it as well. So she can tell us more, of course.
All right, let's do that. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
No problem. Welcome.
Did you enjoy the snacks in the green room?
I did. Got my water. We're good.
Excellent.
Look, we're going to talk to Jesse. Don't worry about it. We're going to get everything together. Oh, man. Thank you for coming on the show, man. Blessing us with your energy and your time. We really do appreciate it.
No worries.
So for those that might not know, you know what I mean? Tell us a little bit about yourself, from the beginning. Just a little bit, and we get up to where you at now. But just talk to your start.
Yeah. Such a good question. So I'm Andrea Cox, born and raised in Calgary, Alberta. So I am a Canadian. Whoop, whoop. So let's see, my background is actually in HR. So I did that for quite some time. And I started working with a unionized company where I was going to homes, helping people with their permanent benefits. And one was a funeral coverage. And was doing that for a while and realized that there's something missing. I would go to homes asking questions like, do you have a will? And most people didn't have a will. And I didn't have a will at that time either. And realized that there was something missing. And I went to this gentleman's home and he was just like, well, I don't need a funeral coverage because I'm not going to die. And he was so serious, you guys. He was so serious. I thought to myself, okay. And then most times when I ask people questions on, when I ask people questions on if they have a will, most people would say no, as I mentioned earlier. And I met this couple who actually said yes. And they had young children. And they said that the reason why they have a will is because one of their close friends died from domestic violence. And when they went to the funeral, the children came with social services. And that was a light switch for me that, how can I get out there more besides going from house to house to house? So I was more so envisioning doing seminars, webinars, things like that. So I ended up getting into a position where we were doing that. And it's been, it's been quite the journey, but people come out, they get the information. As we all know, death is a taboo topic. We don't want to talk about it. We're not going to die. So we're just going to ignore it, right? Until something happens, then we're in reactive mode. And it was around, I actually met another author who does something a little bit similar to what I did. And it dawned on me that, you know what, there's that saying that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
That's where the book came in, that, you know what, let me put in all of the experience I have over the last 6 years and put it in a book. So it's as a resource for people to read it, get all that information. Because you guys, the reality is that if something happens to a family member and if their affairs is not in order, they don't have an exit plan in place, who does it fall on? Those who are left behind,
Absolutely.
right? So it's to get as much information as possible through the book. And as you read the book, there's also a workbook at the end. So that's pretty much how that book came about. So it actually published in March. And, the journey is just to get the book out there so that we can have better death experiences. Because in most cases, as you know, when a loved one passes away, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of confusion. There's, family breakdowns, financial hardship. We can go on. And it's just so that we can, just tackle this topic. Back in the days, mental illness was frowned upon. We didn't talk about that. Right now it's coming in. There's mental illness days.
Yeah.
And we need to start doing the same thing with death, because a lot of these kids are experiencing it. Like, look at the shooting that just happened, now all these kids are experiencing this. So when are we going to start having these conversations? Can we start bringing this in the schools, right?
Yeah.
So that's another discussion, but that's what I do. Just educate and help people with their exit plan and putting something in place today for peace of mind tomorrow.
Yeah, I read that little bit of the legacy part here in the book, and you had mentioned about should it be taught in schools. This is just something that it should be, because it's part of life. Death is a part of life, whether we know someone that died or whether we know that we're going through the experience ourselves. Like, we don't, it's happening everywhere around us. It's on the news, it's in the media, it's on the radio, it is in our own families, or someone that we know has died. So this is just something that is absolutely natural. And it's true. Like, why are we always pushing the subject aside? I know it's uncomfortable, but if we make it, like you said, it's more of the mainstream things that are taught in schools, and it would be like second nature now. Oh, this is what we do. That's, we do this with our families, a culture thing, right? That's why even on this show, Culture Connection, we talk about different cultures. Why is death not a part of different cultures? There's amazing ceremonies with the different cultures of passing loved ones, right? So yeah, it should be taught in schools, absolutely. If there's different holidays taught in schools, different, like, you talk about weddings, you talk about, like Memorial Day, you talk about whatever, all these different events in everyone's lives, why not? Why not talk about death? They should, absolutely. It doesn't have to be like grade 4 science or whatever, but bring it in, maybe when they can understand it a little bit more, when they have more questions. And then someone like yourself can go into the schools and give a little speech on it. Like you said, maybe there could be like, this is a pretty basic book and I love it. It's very, like, you can understand it. It's clear. It's got the big print in it, whatever. It's awesome. I laughed because when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm going to color in the border.
Yes, you did.
It's really cute and I love it. But you could even make like a really simple basic one for, like, elementary school or junior high or high school. Like, you can totally branch out with it. So I love it. I love the format. I love how easy it is. And I love that, you make it so basic where it's just like so simple to talk about. Like, opening it up and be like, okay, where's the will part? Where's this part? Where's the legacy part? All this stuff. And we'll go into it more, of course, but I really believe it should be taught in schools, 100%.
Absolutely. I agree. That those are one of them things that we as a society, we try not to deal with until it deal with us. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, and it's so true. By the time you're ready to deal with it, you're behind it. You know what I mean? Trying to play catch up, and it makes the experience that more difficult. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of those things, if we got in front of, let's be honest, it's never going to be an easy situation. But when you got your things in order and got everything set at a certain, it makes it a little bit more bearable.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I love the fact that that you're trying to tackle that that issue. And it's not a color issue. It's a human issue. Like, don't none of us want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the truth. And I love the fact that you did it. What about this topic made you want to tackle it and put yourself out there to want to express it in a book form? Because it's information that we need to know, but a lot of people don't want to deal with this specific issue.
You know, when I did my training, there's so much that I learned from it that I thought to myself, people don't know this stuff, right? You get pushed into it when something happens, you're in reactive mode. And there is so much to do. There's so many decisions to make. Let's not talk about these decisions are permanent, right? So then you have regrets. So I think one of the biggest things is that we just don't have these conversations in our homes. So when a loved one passes away, we don't even know what they want. You know what I mean? So, or we're running up and down trying to find paperwork, trying to see if there's insurance. Like even when it comes to insurance, I put it almost like AMA. So here in Canada, we have AMA. What do you guys call it in the States? It's like if your car breaks down.
Geico.
Here it's AMA or CAA, but in the States has a name, but I don't know what it is. That if your car breaks down, they'll come and
Triple
what
A.
is it there?
Triple A.
Triple exactly. AAA exactly.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, guys, like last month I locked myself out of the car, unheard of. And I didn't have that account. And I'm telling you, it kind of reminds me, it's not as bad, obviously, but you know what? Whenever something happens, we have a car accident, you know, something happens to our house, we right away go to insurance. But when something happens, we don't have these protections. So who does it fall on? Those who are left behind. And this is why we see a lot of GoFundMes, right? And we see a lot of family breakdowns because someone has to pay for that bill, guys. And people don't realize that until you have to go into the funeral home. So it's just the fact that, back to your question, what made me write this book and why do I do what I do? I realized that most of us don't know what to do. So it's a huge problem, and the book is to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just on a personal note, that's something that I took on the chin myself, because like let's be honest, when your loved ones die, you want to be able to have everything taken care of. Your mom, your like your family. You don't want to be out here doing fish fries and selling plates and spaghetti to try to pay for a funeral. You know what I mean? So that's why I took it personally on myself to get my mother life insurance and get, you know, certain people around me life insurance. So when it because it's, you know, it's gonna happen, but I want to be prepared. And when I did that for my mother, she cried. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking about the future. Because we're not going to be out here looking crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? We got to be able to have those things in order. So that's why I really love the fact that you put this out to try to make the situation a little bit more bearable, like I said, because I personally tried to make the process as smooth as possible. You know what I mean?
I was wanting to give like a high five, okay? Because it's huge, you know, it's so huge.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just one of those things, Cari. It's just one of those things that we just need to do. And guess what, you guys? It starts with us. So we have the conversation, especially for our aging parents who don't want to talk about it. And it's probably because they're more closer to the end of line more than at the beginning. We can either say, do you know what? If something happens to me, go underneath the bed, in the suitcase, you're going to find X, Y, Z, and they're going to feel that comfort, and they're going to want to do the same thing to you, right? And that's just so huge. So it's a peace of mind and just having those uncomfortable conversations. Because you guys, let's be real. There's 3 times to have it. Either on a normal day where we can laugh, make a joke of it, you know, think it's some interesting stuff. Or in a crisis when something has happened and we have to start, or it's when someone passes away. Either or it's difficult, but the easiest one is before anything happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll read this comment in a second, but I just want to just kind of touch on that, like how you said, you know, normal conversation or things like that. In my culture, I'm Catholic, and so sometimes I do like to make a little visit to the cemetery and just kind of pray for the dead there or whatever. But one of my friends, she came along with me one day and we were actually laughing, and she's like, yeah, she bought a plot at the cemetery we were at. She's like, yeah, I made sure I was like near my friends and all this stuff. And I was laughing and I was like, okay. She said it's just, for that peace of mind. And so, like you said, it can be brought into a normal conversation, and it should, absolutely. And there's no reason why, like, yeah, go check out cemeteries, go see which ones are close for your loved ones to be able to go and visit you. Check out prices. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, Bigg, well, you're into real estate. Well, this is now another real estate.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a real estate for real. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone, I noticed that there's a comment there that that Claire has. My mom is 60 and she refuses to cooperate and plan. Some people refuse to talk about it, and it's so true. But Claire, what I've found has been working is when you actually tell your parents what you have done, they're then going to feel like they're left behind and they're going to start doing something. So it's just to have those conversations and just to let them know what you've done, and you'll notice that there's a difference. And I've met with a lot of seniors, and I find that, okay, I don't want to go too much into that, but as adult children, we need to have these conversations because we either have it while our parents are alive, or it's going to be in a crisis or when one passes away, right? And I explain to these like adult children that your parents don't have XYZ, so you could either help them with a payment plan now, so that it'll be taken care of then, or you just have to pay the lump sum. So you know what I mean? So it's just to kind of explain to them, because a lot of kids think that their parents have a will, or they think that there's money in place. And the list kind of goes on until you go to the funeral home and you get the shock of your life. Because as soon as we go to the funeral home, the first question is going to be, is there a will in place? Because they want to know who that executor is, because that executor is on the hook, right? And let's even go further back than that. And Cari, you explained this very well earlier, that the importance of going to funeral homes, going to cemeteries, and doing your research, right? You have public cemeteries, you have private cemeteries. Same thing with funeral homes, and the costs are different. So you don't want to just, buy whichever, not knowing because you didn't do the research beforehand, right? Yeah. And here in Alberta, like in Calgary, we have private and public, and in Edmonton, it's private, public, and Catholic. And I'm just saying this so people understand that there are options out there. And if you don't do the research before, you're going to be spending money that you didn't have to spend, because there's a lot of GoFundMes, there's a lot of credit cards, and there's a lot of line of credits to pay for this bill. And that's another thing. There's so many options when you go to the funeral home. Now you're buying on emotions, right? Yeah. And you want the best for that person. It could be that you possibly had an argument with them, and now you're putting that money into, you know what I mean? That could have been avoided. So it's really good to have these conversations, do your research in advance, and pre-plan. Your friend started to pay for her cemetery. You could do the same thing with your funeral plans, right? Go to a funeral home, get a package, start paying for it, because you're locking in today's dollars. So that 20 years down the line, your family's not paying that difference, right? And that is all in the book. And that's the thing. A lot of us don't really understand this stuff. And that's what the book is for. There's so much information in there, and it's so easy to read. It is one of the easiest books people will ever read. Yeah. But it's to give us the knowledge that we need, because the statistics on dying, you guys, is 1 out of 1.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I like that it's final departure, and I like the little suitcase, and it's got wills and griefs and insurance. It's all one basic package, like right on the cover, and I love that because it's very simple, and it's why like we said, the more we're normalizing these conversations, it'll be so much easier, and then we just know there's no second guessing about what parents want. Like one person I know. There's also, of course, due to religions, some people want to be cremated, some people want to be buried. And so that kind of stuff, really does need to be taken care of beforehand. Yes. Because what if, all the kids are like, no, we want to cremate our parents, but their wishes are actually to be buried. in this old cemetery where their great grandparents were buried or something. So
Absolutely.
it really needs to be touched on because it could be even a traditional thing as well, a custom, traditional culture thing, right? And we don't know until we ask those questions. So I absolutely 100%. CC, what is she saying? I know this is serious, but this sounds like the worst shopping trip ever.
Like it is, you know what I'm saying, and it kind of takes me into what I was going to say about you preparing. Like, just from personal experience, my grandmother, you know what I mean, when she passed, she had everything planned. She wrote her own obituary. She picked out her plot. She picked out her casket. She had a police escort in front of us, like through the like my grandmother planned it to the T, to the T. Like, I was so impressed. And it just gave me more respect for my grandmother that she was on that type of time. Like, her kids, we didn't have to worry about nothing. Yeah. Everything was planned out. She had it. All we had to do was just go through the process. You know what I mean? So again, that's why this topic, it kind of sits with me, because I've been in the position where people have been, you know, trying to be prepared for the inevitable. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. You know what I'm saying? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what this book represents, saying you. So shouts out to you for willing to be able to tackle such a tough situation and make it understandable and able for people to try to grasp, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's the legacy that your grandmother has now left behind.
Yeah.
That will go from generation to generation. This is where the whole legacy comes in, right? As to what do we want to be remembered as? Yeah. Because the thing about it is that either it's going to be, you guys are going to be blessed like your grandmother, Bigg Wall, who left that for you guys, or you have the mess on the other side. And, you know, the family's talking about this mess for years and years to come. Do you know what I mean?
Families then broke up. Like, families don't even talk no more for years because of what didn't happen with a loved one or during that process. So yes, it is very, very much a big issue, because it can divide families. So yeah.
You know, I would say that, you know, I remember I made this one comment in this one seminar that I did. And I said, you know, sometimes I wish I was God. And I wish I could bring a family in a room, bring back to life the person who died, and let them sit down and let the family say all what's happened because of what they didn't do in advance, right? And because a lot of these friendship or family relationships will never be mendable. That's how bad it gets. So, you know, let's have the conversation and let's just put the plan in place and have peace of mind. It's about our legacy, and have our bucket list, right? Start checking off what you want to do, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Have your bucket list. You know, create a beautiful memories with your family, because those memories is what's going to keep them during their whole grief process. Taking your pictures, spending time to them, spending time with them. Like, our legacy also, you know, it doesn't have to just be money, but it could be our character, how we treat people. It could be, you know, being like a mentor, you know, just doing good deeds, volunteering, you know, showing love. The list kind of goes on, like having like a family recipe and sharing it just within the family. There's so much we can do for legacy, so we don't have to be worried about death, because it's going to happen. It's not an if, it's when. But, you know, just start doing these things so that it's not such a heavy topic when we actually talk about it. It's more just thinking about what legacy are we going to leave behind. There's another saying that I learned: the goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Yeah, talk about it. I like that. Shouts out to the culture gang in the building. They said, where can they buy the book? They want to know where they can get the book and get all this dope information.
Yeah, so it is on Amazon, and here in Canada, actually, it's Seniors Week, so it's actually on sale, 25% off until Sunday. So, you know, go on Amazon, get your copy, and happy pre-planning, guys. Like, it's peace of mind for our loved ones, and not just for them, for us as well, if our loved ones pass away.
Yeah, I will. I'll post up the link after. I didn't get a chance to put it into the description because it was too long. The caption is too long, and Instagram is really picky and stuff. So but I will. I'll put a separate post completely. I'll put the book and then all the little links in there. So like you said, it's Seniors Week. So this is kind of a nice time to be able to talk about it, discuss it, and get the book a little bit cheaper. And then, it actually would probably even make a nice gift. I'd say birthday gift. I don't know. But how do you choose the occasion to give this type of thing? Like, I don't know. It's really difficult. Anniversary gift. I don't like. It's awkward, but you just slide over. Here's the book.
Right? And that's,
I don't know. Maybe it would be a good birthday gift because it's showing that you love them so much and you want everything taken care of the way that they want it. So yes, I agree. Your grandma was a star. That's a very beautiful comment.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. She was amazing. It just showed me how strong you are, because like we say, like, don't nobody want to deal with this topic. You know what I mean? And to have it done in a way where you can deal with it and just have to deal with the grieving process alone, which is tough within itself, to not have to deal with the fighting and the arguing and trying to figure things out. It just makes the situation worse. They say this: the two toughest things to deal with is death and moving. The most stressful things for humans to deal with. You know what I mean? And it just is what it is. So when you have a blueprint, so to speak, to kind of have things laid out, it just makes the process more bearable. You know what I mean? Because it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
Can we go into the legacy part a little bit? Because I know you did want to discuss that today on the show, and just kind of skim over some of the things that we can, put in our legacy to pass on to others. That would be, something that's fun.
Yeah, and I did mention some earlier, but when it comes to our legacy is the ultimate person that we want to become, right? So, legacy is about living, it's about life, and it's about living it, right? So it's about learning from the past, living in the present, and building for the future. So, when we, I know that when it comes to even our funerals, when it comes to our celebration of life, in fact, let's call it celebration of life. How do we want people to talk about us? Because however we want people to talk about us, we could start planning that from now, right? Because it starts yesterday, because you don't know if tomorrow's going to come. So it's just to, kind of keep that in mind.
What are some good examples that you would? I know there's probably different stages in everyone's life that would.
Absolutely.
So what are maybe some examples of what we hear us on the show? What would be some examples of some legacies that we could leave behind?
Yeah, so it could be things like our character, how we treat people. That is so huge, guys. Some of us have this attitude, well, this is me, accept me for who I am. And that's our reality, right? Like, this is just me, I'm rude and this is just me.
Yeah.
But you know what? It goes generational. Like, do we really want to be creating more of us, right?
Continuing that cycle, huh? It's trying to break the chains.
Kids, they just mirror us. Do you know what I mean? It's like some of our children have no fighting chance because of what we have put on them, right?
Absolutely.
So if we need to change some things, you guys, let's do that. Because if tomorrow is our last day and our parents or our children has, negative things to say about us, and for some of them, they're just going to do the exact same thing. It's just really too bad. So, just doing good. I've always been one. So I don't like drama. First, you guys, I don't like drama. I'll walk
no
away
more
from
drama,
it.
huh? Okay.
I don't like drama. And I think, and this is the thing, is that based on my experience, when it comes to the grief process, most people's grief process is more difficult when they said something to the person who passed away and regret it. You can't take it back.
Yeah.
And this is when you need your coach to help you write things down to try to get that out of your mind, because your last memory is what you said to this person. So it's almost better that, what's the saying? If you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all, right? And there's times that we just need to lock it, because we don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and the person who we had a disagreement with is gone, right? So that is just, just something basic, just doing good deeds, volunteering, as I mentioned earlier, what are our family traditions that we just want to pass down, right? Whether it's, we spend more time with family, do things with family, take pictures, just things so that those who are left behind have these memories. In fact, in the book, there's a section in there for writing a letter to your loved ones. That's things that our loved ones hold on to when they find something that mom or dad wrote down, right? So it's these little things, whether we even do a video, do our video from now as to what we want to be said at our funeral to our loved ones, right? We could do this stuff, you guys. We plan our weddings, we plan our birthdays, our anniversaries, all this stuff. Like we plan. And let's be real, for weddings, how long does it take? 6 months, a year. We do all this planning, but when it comes to death, there's absolutely none. And the question is, why is that? Right? So it's just a part of life, just like birth, the same thing as death.
Yeah. Shouts out to the culture gang. We got a comment. A lot of us can't afford to pay life insurance every month. Are there any good affordable plans?
Do you know what, you guys? Do your research, because there are some out there. Now, let me just let us all understand this, is that if we can't afford certain policies now, just know that they get higher. So it's almost better that we do it as early as we can. And you don't have to get a big lump sum. Do you know what I mean? It could be just something small, just something. And just know that depending on where you live, there are some support from the government. Mind you, I'm talking about Canada. I'm not too sure about the States.
Yeah, because see, that's apples and pears. You know what I'm saying? That's just because it's shaped like an apple, that don't mean it's the same. You know what I'm saying? It's totally different over here in the States. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and each state, I do believe each state is almost completely different than the next state.
Absolutely.
As well as Canada as a whole is pretty much basic, except a couple provinces might be a little bit different, but for the most part, it's clear across the board.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'd have to look into definitely where you live and then kind of go from there. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing with that book, is that the book is very universal, because that was the thing, because everywhere is different, provinces, states, countries. But the point of the book is to have stories to make us think. So that we'll have those conversations and we'll go to those professionals. So throughout the book, it talks about speak to a professional in your area and ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's dope.
What do you think? I mean, Andrea, you're the one that wrote this. Do you have any specific part in this book that you would recommend to be like, if you can't read the whole book, read this one specific part?
Do you know what? My favorite part in the book is actually the wills and estate wills and the living wills. And the reason why, you guys, there's so many legal parts to us dying that we need to get our wills done and our living wills in place. There's this religion called the Baha'i faith, and they start educating their kids at the age of 16 to having their wills. And having a will is our voice when we are no longer around, especially when we have children. We want to make sure that whoever ends up with our children, we've raised our children a certain way. If something happens to us, who's going to be the one that's going to take care of them? And you just want to put things down, write things down. So you definitely, I would say, start with that chapter, wills and your living wills, and understand the why you need that and the mess it can create if we do not have that in place.
Yeah, because I think even with children can be left to the state, down in the States. Here in Canada, I don't think necessarily like child services would take them, but yeah, do we want some stranger taking care of our children?
That is so true. It's so true.
And this is the thing again. Sorry, guys, we're going to get into another. I'm going to make this short because I could go off forever when it comes to this stuff.
Come on, man. Address the culture. Talk about it.
Why we are
ducking no smoke. That's why we here. You know what I'm talking about?
So more hearing more on, okay, mom has raised the children however long, and the children are involved in mom's life, in, the family's life of mom's side of the family. Something happens to mom, and now dad is taking that family to court. And in most cases, the father gets that child, right? So what ends up happening? The children have been raised with their mother, the family, and now they get pulled onto the other side, and they don't have that relationship on the other side. So it's important to have these wills and these documents in place and to update them on a regular basis. You know, when I think about life insurance products, how we have beneficiaries. So, say for instance, you've been married for however long, get divorced, and you forget to change your beneficiary. Well, your ex is going to end up being the person who's going to benefit from that, right?
Dum dum
Or
dum.
when we work with a company for how many years and we remarry and we forgot to go back to the HR department to change the beneficiary,
Yeah.
who is going to be the beneficiary? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all these things. Like, we do our taxes every year, make sure that we update our wills on a yearly basis as well, because there is like too much mess out there, guys. Like, you know, have your will, but just protect yourself and protect your family and make sure that you update them. So by far, I would say start with the wills. And you know, that book talks about grief. It talks about, you know, the whole legal part. It talks about, you know, researching your cemeteries, your funeral homes, pre-planning. There's a list as to what to do by in the first 24 hours, what to say to someone who's grieving, what not to say to someone who's grieving. How many times do we tell people to be strong? Be strong for who? You just lost your one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember when, so I also work with a funeral home here. Like, if it's a family that I know, I would also be like a funeral attendant. And I was driving the coach and I had a mother beside me and her son was in the back. And, you know, she's like, oh, I got to be strong for my, I'm like, you don't need to be strong. You know, you cry. If you need to cry, cry. And that's the thing, is that we are too busy being strong and it affects us in the long run. And we have all kinds of health problems because we've been too busy keeping it in, because we've been raised to be strong. My question is, be strong for who? Because we have to do us first before we can help anybody. And if we don't take care of us and, you know, go through the grief process, grief is not something that you'll ever get over. You just learn how to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. You're going to have good days. You're going to have good days, bad days. You know, a loved one could pass away 20 years and there's times that you'll still wake up and cry. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know, but you just have to learn how to cope with it. So that's another thing, that we don't go to a grief counselor. We don't do grief. We don't have a grief coach. We need that. We need help. We were not taught how to grieve. And this is why there are grief counselors and grief support out there. And we need to utilize them more. Because if we have a bad grief death experience, it falls on our children. And it's a generational thing. And it is not okay. Because this is what they see and this is what they know.
Yeah. Talk about it. Yeah, it's definitely one of them tough things, because I'm not even going front. Like, I start preparing my will. You know what I mean? And it's something that's serious. You know what I mean? When you get to going through and trying to see those questions, and then you like, who you gonna leave your kids with, and who you gonna leave this with. You know, sometimes you can't get through your will. You know what I'm saying? It takes you a little time where you got to come back and finish it, because those questions are really put things in perspective. Who you want to leave things with, but it's very, very important, because that's something you don't want to leave the people who are left with here to deal with. You know what I mean? Because you kind of want to make it smooth as possible, but because funerals and everything is for us, really, it's for the living. Everything that we doing is for the living, because our loved ones, they're gone, they moved on to big better. You know what I mean? But it's for us. So, you know what I mean? Try to make it as smooth as possible. So, yeah, it's something that's serious, but it's necessary. You know what I mean? These conversations are very necessary. So, I appreciate you for doing that, man.
And the best part about it, guys, is that when it's done, it is done. And it's
done.
The biggest peace of mind and the burden lifted off of your shoulders. There's so many people who I hear that says, oh my goodness, this was so easy. I didn't think this would be so easy. You know what I mean? And so that if now we're in a situation that we're on our deathbed, we're at peace of mind. And our family can spend more time with us because they're not running up and down trying to figure things out. Where's the will? Is there will? Is there insurance? Is there? Because it's all done. So now you can spend your last moments with your loved one. You know, in the back of the book, it even has what to say to someone who is dying. We don't know what to say. So it's in the book as well. You guys, mostly everything is in the book. We just need to read the book, share it with with others and have it as a guide for our loved ones.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's something like I said, when we're dealing with these issues, when you face it and don't let it get you, because you're gonna have to deal with it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not something that you can run from. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And for me, I've always wanted to have dealing with situations face forward. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
it seemed like in this book you've laid out everything. Is there anything that's not in the book?
I like this. Sorry, I'm going to put this right here. There's even like a little about me section.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes some people go to our food and they're saying things that they probably shouldn't say. Or, when it comes to even who to read certain things or spelling the wrong names, so the about me is to help with the eulogy and the obituary. How many of us lose a loved one, and at that time we're trying to piece things together, don't know who was who, don't know how to spell names, don't know who should come to the funeral, who should be a part of the program. There's so much confusion.
Long lost cousins, and you're like, who is this? And
right.
They come and yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I like the little section of like pictures where you can have pictures or a video, something kind of made, and then you can throw the family members and that and everything. Like it's really cool. It really is like, I don't know, it's like a scrapbook of death in a way. It's kind of neat.
And the question that you asked, what is not in there, I didn't touch on trusts. So for instance, if we have a child that is mentally, like, what's the wording? I should say that's the right terminology, but they can't support themselves. There's a terminology and I'm not too sure. There's the States, there's Canada right now. But anyhow, and if something happens to us, we need money in trust to fund their living for years to come. That's not in there. And this is why, you guys, it's so important that you get your wills done by a professional who is a wills and estate specialist. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we don't know what we don't know. Here in Alberta, we can go to a registry's office and get a will kit. Well, it doesn't target things like if you have a mixed family. So you have mom, you have, a stepfather, both have different children. When one passes away, now I'm more talking about Canada, but of course in the book, it more kind of tickles your brain. So let's give an example that, there's a mixed family and there's a home. And when one passes away, it automatically rolls to the second person, right? So the second spouse, when they pass away, who does that all go to? Their children, which means that the first spouse who passed away, who has children, they're going to get nothing. So we need to set up our will properly so that both sides of the family gets, inherits whichever. Or if there is property outside of your country, get the right person to do that. So, getting someone who is used to going to the courthouse, seeing what wills is passing and which one is not, is going to help. Because if there is an issue, there's going to be a bigger issue with family trying to fight XYZ, and then there's going to be, a longer estate process. So until that estate gets settled. So, I know a lot of us do this. Well, we can't afford it. Sometimes if we got to do what we got to do, then it's to, just get, and there's different options out there, right? So obviously I'm in Calgary, so we work with various lawyers, but, I kind of get an idea as to who has what and then refer them to. But it's just really important that you get the right person to get your wills and your living documents in place.
Yeah. See, because I didn't even think about that. Like if you're in a mixed family, and like you said, if one died, then the other one died, goes to the last living kids, and so the whole estate will go to them if you don't have it proper. See, that's what I'm saying. Like because you work too hard in your life to leave a legacy, and when you leave it, when you go, you want everything to go where you wanted it and be set up. So it's just the perfect planning all the way through, because we plan so much in our lives, and then when we get to that point, we like, okay, just let it be what it's gonna be, and you got to plan it all the way out. because at the end of the day, what we working hard for
Right.
to leave our
Right.
legacies. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's something that's very, very, very important. Okay.
Yeah, I saw this comment where this lady, she's Rashay. Thank you for putting this on here. Where she's saying that her and her husband don't want to travel because one of them needs to be there for the children. I can kind of understand how you're feeling on that. Like you want to be able to have a spouse for your child. However, what if one of you are traveling and one of you are going to the dentist that one day and both of you still end up dying? You still need to have something in place. And besides, I think, you might want to enjoy life and go travel with your spouse. I think it would be kind of important. So making sure that, this is why we have the wills in place and, who do you want your children to be left with? Because ideally, like, what if you're gone? What if your spouse is gone and it's still there? You still have to deal with it. So regardless of how safe you're trying to play it, it's going to happen. So definitely.
See, I think it might be a situation for her. And correct me if I'm wrong. But she don't trust nobody with her kids. We didn't thought about everybody, and I don't want my kids to go to none of them. You know what I'm saying? So we just can't travel together because one of us got to be around for our kids. Because when you start going through that list, and you be like, who do you want your kids with? You might be like, nobody. Like I don't trust none of y'all with my kids, my money, and my nothing. You know what I mean? And your kids might not be old enough to leave it for them yet. You know what I'm saying? So it can get kind of sticky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that everyone is different, right? So you just got to do you. Right. At the end of the day, because, it might be okay for you, but it's not okay for me kind of a thing. Right. So it's whatever makes you feel comfortable, do you. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be you that's going to feel it if anything happens. Right. You're going to wish you did X, Y, Z. And you know what? I hear so many stories of people like that. And Cari, I'm just like you. I'm like, no. I'll go take my chances. But some people do not feel at peace with that. Right? So
everyone's like different, right? For me, it's like, I try and grab life by the horns and take those opportunities and be like, hey, this comes up, let's go. That's just who I am because I like to live those moments with the people that I love. And I'm just like, let's go do things together. And then everyone else is on their own. So it's too bad. But it happens. I do agree, though. Sometimes we're in that position where it's like we don't trust someone. We don't have anyone that we want to leave our children with or possessions with or this or that. So I don't know. That's a touchy subject too. But yeah, like you said, to each their own. But what do you do?
Do you, like she said, do what's comfortable for you because in this kind of situation, there's no wrong answer. You know what I mean? As long as you're prepared and got everything in order, it's no wrong answer. Do what you're comfortable for you and your family. Right. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And pray hard that one of you, that you both don't die at once. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Right. And this is even why it's so important that we have our wills, because if something happens to both children or both parents, then what, right? So you want to make sure that if you get on a plane with your spouse, let's get those in place.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to thank you for coming on the show, man, giving us your energy, and everything you told is so needed, man, and we love that energy on the platform. But we can't let you go without telling us where they can find you at. Let everybody know where they can get your book from again, and let us know what you got coming up. Do you got any more books you write? If you got anything else in the works, let everybody know where they at, where you at, and how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. So the book is on Amazon. It's actually going to be in Indigo as well in the stores here in Calgary first. So that should be in the Indigo and Chapter stores in Calgary, hopefully by the end of the month. Then we'll kind of build it out. I have other book ideas, but they're not getting this one out there first because this just published in March. And, we were doing a lot of seminars and webinars, especially webinars more so during COVID. And I took a break from all that simply because I was busy with the book, right? So the goal is to start doing webinars and online and to actually do a workshop. So you know what? Follow me on Facebook, Andrea Cox. I have an author page as well. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, and see what's coming up. But that's all I have at the moment. So thank you guys so much.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
This isn't just all there is. I mean, this is like life and death in one book. I mean, you can't ask for more. It's a perfect package, if you will. So thank you so very much for putting all your time and energy into this project. It is so important, and that's why we wanted you on here, just to be able to share, your feelings, your thoughts about everything, and how it can just make life so much easier to deal with these things when it comes down to the nitty gritty. And like we said, we don't want to talk about it, but we must talk about it. So we appreciate all your time and energy for coming on. And I think we need to have you back at some point, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's levels to this, and we just scratched the surface. You know what I mean? And this is something that's a continuous conversation. Like you said, you need to update your wheel and update things. This conversation needs to be updated. So we definitely going to spin a block and have you back, okay?
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank you guys so much.
No problem. You enjoy the rest of your night, okay?
Amazing.
Cari, that's amazing, man. You know what I'm talking about? Let's first talk about her energy. You know what I mean? Because, we big on energy on the Culture Connection. And her energy
That's our legacy. Our legacy is passing on that energy.
Absolutely. And she gave me energy. You know what I mean? When you're on the right path and you get clarification from somebody that that wrote a book and speaking, because when you write a book, that's something that's serious. It takes time to write a book, get it published. So that's not something that don't mean nothing to you. So for her to give her energy, and that's for the world, because she got the information clearly. She's trying to help us, you know what I mean? And I love that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And for her to come through here and give us that energy and help our audience with the information, it's priceless, man. So I love it. I love it. We definitely got to have her back.
Yeah, we do. And when we actually met last week, just for a quick little book drop off, we touched a bit upon grief, and we do really need to talk a little bit more about it, how to deal with grief and have some grief counseling and things like that. And we kind of touched up even about men and how, it's taboo for men to, even discuss their feelings and talk about all that kind of stuff. So this is really, like you said, there's many, many layers to this onion, and it's really like we all deal with it. So why are we not talking about it more? Right. Yeah. So, and just to, like we said, normalize it a little bit more, talk about it. It should be in schools. It should be, pretty much everywhere, because we're all dealing with it at some point in our life.
Yeah.
It's ready
there. Ready or not, you're going to deal with it. That's a fact.
You just dealt with it not long ago.
Yes.
And like, even for myself, like I had my own dad pass away. Now it's been 11 years. And it was just last week I had just this little cry about it. And I was like, okay, it's good, because I don't want to ever forget who my dad was, right?
Yeah.
And so that's his legacy, is like, I remember all the little things about him, and just like remembering that and just being thankful for who he was. And that's the good thing. I want that. Like, I want other people to remember me for the good things or whatever. And I always laugh, but I always tell my friends, I said, when it comes to my funeral, I said, everyone gets 2 pieces of pizza. I said, no, it's not going to be chintzy. I said, it'll be very good. So I'm already leaving little bits and pieces of myself along the way. And even though I joke about it, it's good. It's good to, to realize it's part of life. So
it is. It's definitely part of life. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to give life. We're going to continue to give energy. And the vibes. We're going to be back next Tuesday with the same type of vibe, same type of energy, giving you news you can use, interviewing dope and interesting people is going to continue to connect with the culture. You already know the vibes. Until next week, like, comment, subscribe, share, join the culture, tap in with me and Cari. You got any comments, anything you want to talk about? You know, we ain't ducking no smoke. You know what I'm talking about? We're going to be addressing right here on the Culture Connection. Shout out to Just TV, everybody that's tapping in around the world, China, Brazil, Italy, Calgary, Canada. We are locked in, man. So until next week, I'm your boy, Big Wall.
I'm your girl, Cari.
And this is the Culture Connection. And like I always say, your culture makes you who you are. So make sure to respect it. We're going to catch you on the next episode. We up out of here.
All you gotta do is hush, you ain't gotta say much when you make that right connection. If you wanna double up, keep the money in the tuck, I can put you in the right direction. I can never get enough, all I got is us, I speak the true confession. Everything goes smooth cause I stay on the move and make them right connections. All you gotta do is hush, you ain't gotta say much when you make them right connections. If you wanna double up, keep the money in the tuck, I can put you in the right direction. I can never get enough, all I got is us, I speak the true confession. Everything goes smooth cause I stay